4:30 a.m., pitch black outside. My alarm is screaming, and every cell in my body is telling me to go back to sleep. But I don't, because 30 days ago, I made a promise to copy the exact morning routine of a former Navy SEAL, no matter how brutal it got. This is day 30, and I almost didn't make it here. Navy SEALs are trained to function at an elite level on almost no sleep, in freezing water, under extreme stress. A huge part of that isn't just physical, it's the ritual they run every single morning before the sun comes up. I wanted to know if a normal, out-of-shape guy like me could survive that same ritual for a month, and what it would actually do to my body and mind. Quick intro if you're new here. I'm not a fitness influencer, I don't have a six-pack, and 3 months ago, the most extreme thing I did before 9 a.m. was hit snooze twice and make instant coffee. I work a desk job, I sit for 8 hours a day, and my sleep schedule was a disaster. So here were the rules. Wake up at 4:30 a.m. every single day, no exceptions. Make the bed within the first 60 seconds. Cold shower or cold plunge for at least 3 minutes. A structured workout modeled after SEAL physical training. 10 minutes of tactical breathing. And a written reflection before I touched my phone. 30 days, 0 cheat days. Day 1. My alarm goes off at 4:30 and I genuinely consider quitting before I've even started. My body feels like it's fighting against me. I sit up and the room is freezing and I already regret every decision that led me here. But I get up anyway. The cold plunge was supposed to build mental toughness. Instead, I screamed loud enough to wake my neighbors. My plan was 3 minutes. I lasted 45 seconds and I fell out of the tub, gasping like I'd just been rescued from drowning. Not exactly SEAL material yet. The workout was based on real SEAL physical training standards, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, and a timed run. On day 1, I couldn't do a single pull-up, not one. My arms shook trying to hang from the bar, and by the second round of push-ups, my form completely broke down. SEALs use something called box breathing before high-stress operations. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. I tried it after the workout, and honestly, it was the first calm moment of my entire morning. My heart rate actually dropped in real time. The last rule was writing 3 pages by hand before touching my phone. Day 1, I had nothing to say. I just wrote, "This is stupid," over and over until something honest finally came out about why I signed up for this in the first place. Days 2 through 4 blurred together in the worst way. Same alarm, same cold shock, same shaky pull-up bar. My motivation was cracking fast, and I started negotiating with myself at 4:29 a.m. every single morning, whispering just 5 more minutes won't hurt anyone. By day 5, I was done. I sat on the edge of my bed at 4:30 in the morning and just cried. Not because of the cold or the push-ups, but because I realized how weak my discipline actually was. That moment ended up being the real turning point of the entire challenge. So I reached out to a former Navy SEAL to ask what I was doing wrong. He told me the wake-up isn't really about willpower, it's about removing decisions. Every choice you make at 4:30 a.m. should already be decided the night before, so your tired brain has nothing left to argue about. So I rebuilt my entire evening routine. Workout clothes laid out by the door, water bottle filled and waiting, phone charging in the kitchen far away from my bed. Lights out by 9:30 p.m., no exceptions. It felt excessive at first, but it removed almost every excuse I used to rely on. Day 8, something shifted. I still hated the alarm, but I didn't negotiate with it anymore. I was in the cold plunge before my brain could talk me out of it, and for the first time, I held it for the full 3 minutes without gasping halfway through. We tested my numbers again at day 10. Pull-ups went from 0 to 3. Push-ups nearly doubled. My mile time dropped by almost 90 seconds. None of it was SEAL level yet, but the trajectory finally felt real instead of imaginary. Around day 12, the hardest part wasn't the pain anymore. It was the boredom. Doing the exact same 5 things in the exact same order every single morning started to feel mechanical, almost hollow. I had to remind myself that this sameness was actually the entire point of the exercise. By day 15, the sleep debt caught up to me. Even with lights out at 9:30, I was still running on maybe 5.5 hours a night. I fell asleep at my desk twice this week, and my coworkers started asking if I was okay. So I made one change the SEAL veteran had actually warned me about ignoring. Protecting sleep matters more than the wake-up time itself. I moved my workout slightly earlier in the evening and cut caffeine off completely after 1 p.m. to help my body actually wind down. My knees started aching from the running, and my hands were blistered from the pull-up bar. I taped them up and kept going, because quitting at day 18 felt worse than any blister ever could. This is where the challenge stopped being about fitness and became about identity. The veteran told me something that stuck with me for the rest of the month. Discomfort is just information, not a stop sign. SEALs aren't taught to enjoy suffering. They're taught to keep functioning through it. That single reframe changed how I approached every single hard moment after this point. Day 20, 2/3 of the way there. I did 5 pull-ups in a row for the first time in my life, and I actually laughed out loud in the middle of the set because I genuinely couldn't believe my own arms. I'd been posting daily clips online, and by day 20, the comments completely shifted from "this guy's going to quit" to people asking how to start their own version of the challenge. That pressure ended up pushing me just as hard as the workouts did. By day 22, the cold plunge stopped being torture and started being the calmest 3 minutes of my entire day. My breathing stayed steady, my heart rate barely spiked, and I actually looked forward to that quiet, freezing silence every single morning. Day 24 was the first day I completed the entire SEAL-style workout without stopping once. 10 pull-ups, 60 push-ups, 80 sit-ups, and a 1.5-mile run under 12 minutes. I stood there afterward completely wrecked, but genuinely proud for the first time in weeks. Looking back at my journal entries from week 1 versus week 4, the difference wasn't really about fitness levels. Early entries were full of complaints and countdowns to the end. Later entries were about noticing small details, gratitude, and clarity I hadn't expected a morning routine to create. Day 27 almost broke the streak. I got food poisoning overnight and barely slept at all. I still dragged myself up at 4:30, skipped the intense workout, but refused to break the wake-up rule, because by this point, it had become who I was, not just what I was doing. With 3 days left, I stopped counting down and started paying attention instead. I noticed the sunrise for the first time in weeks. I noticed how quiet the world is at 5 a.m. before anyone else is awake. This challenge had quietly rewired how I saw mornings altogether. Day 30, the same alarm, the same dark room, the same cold floor under my feet. But everything about how I feel is different now. I get up before the alarm even finishes ringing, and for the first time in this entire journey, getting up doesn't feel like a fight. The full 30-day results. Pull-ups went from 0 to 11. Push-ups nearly tripled. My mile time dropped by almost 3 minutes. Average sleep improved by over an hour a night, and resting heart rate dropped by 8 beats per minute. But honestly, the physical numbers weren't the biggest change. The biggest change was that I stopped needing motivation to get through hard mornings, because the routine itself had become the motivation. Discipline built the version of me that didn't need to feel like doing it, just needed to do it. If you take one thing from this, take these 3 lessons. 1. Discipline is built the night before, not in the moment you wake up. 2. Discomfort is just information. It isn't a signal to stop. 3. Consistency beats intensity every single time, because the routine only works if you actually repeat it. 30 days ago, I couldn't do a single pull-up, and I dreaded my alarm more than almost anything else in my life. Today, mornings feel like mine again. If you want to try your own version of this challenge, I put a full breakdown in the description below. I'll see you in the next video.